In Portion-Emor, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be sure to never miss a class, and it'll go right to the top of your YouTube channel. Okay, so here we are, Portion-Emor, the weekly Torah portion, and it's in the book of Vayikra. Okay, chapter 21. So he says, just a quick introduction. He says the previous chapter dealt with the commandment that the entire nation should strive to become holy, and with the broad range of activities that brings one to this exalted state. Now the Torah turns to the kohanim, whose divine service places upon them a particular responsibility to maintain higher standards of holy behavior and purity. So here we go. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. So Hashem said to Moshe, Emor, say el kohanim b'nei Levi, b'nei Aaron, say to the kohanim, the children of Aaron, v'amarta aleihem, and you will say to them, l'nefesh lo yitamah b'amav, to a soul, you should not become, should make yourself contaminated, spiritually contaminated amongst his nation. So what's going on here? First of all, he says,
a lot of redundancy, huh?
Yes.
Seemingly.
There is, yes.
Why is Emor in the Hebrew without a vav? And then in the Parsha, it might just be a...
Oh, you mean why is the word written chaser? Why was it written without a vav in the middle of the word as opposed to how they spell it in the top? Right. Well, the way they spell in the top is only for, I don't think it's ever spelled that way in reality. But I don't think it's ever spelled fully out.
So why is it?
Why is it here? I'm not sure why our school decided to spell it out.
Wait, what are you saying?
He's saying right up here, it's spelled Emor out totally.
Oh, because there's no vowels, right? So you can read the
word. But again, I'm not sure why they would have to.
That would be my take on that.
It could be, but he's saying, but right here you see it. Without over here, it's also written without vowels in the Torah. And yet it's written that way.
If you see it, just Aleph Mem Resh. If you see that,
you could say Amar, right?
How would you know the context? You don't know the context. You see it up here, Parshas Emor. So that's what it is.
Okay, could be that. It could be that's why they did it. I'm not sure.
My uneducated take.
But the problem is that the parshiot are only named after the Torah, how the Torah is written. So when I'm writing out the name, I don't necessarily have to copy what the Torah is saying. So I'm not sure there's a better reason than what Mr. Arnstein is arguing. That it's just it could be the way that it is. Certainly, it's not the top.
Observation.
It's not the top of any part in the Torah. We don't see Parshat.
So if you're just scanning through it, especially let's say it was an all Hebrew chumash, you're scanning through it looking for a parsha, and you're just going to be looking at the headings.
Right.
And so that jumps. That's got to be Emor when you look at that word.
Okay, I am. So Rashi says, he's going to quote in English too, but let's do the Rashi first. So Emor v'amarta lahazri gedolim al katanim. That why is it saying the double language? Emor and v'amarta, say and you will say, to tell us that we have to that the elder, the adult kohain, has to be warned about the younger kohain, because what's going on? You're told you can't become contaminated by death. Okay, so you would say, okay, a young kohain is not yet obligated to follow halakha. Correct? Yeah. Anybody under bar or bat mitzvah is really not obligated to follow halakha. Again, we do it. Let's be clear about this. Biblically, we do it. I mean, rabbinically, we do it. But biblically, if the child is not yet 13 or the girl's not yet 12, they could have a what do you call it? A cheeseburger.
Yeah.
They could have ham. Whatever you want. You can do what you want because you're not yet commanded. Okay? Wait. Obviously, we don't do that because we want to educate our children to do right, and we don't want them to have something forbidden, because what was going to happen is when they would eat that forbidden stuff, then they become what we call metamtem and halev. You make your it's a spiritual thing, but you're clogging up your heart. Literally and figuratively. It could be figuratively and literally at that point. But so we don't want that to happen. So that's why from the very beginning we train our children to do mitzvot. And another reason we do that is also, like we learned last week, that we want the argument, what was it, lunch and learn with the Ramban, where he said that, are the mitzvot applicable today or not? I mean, are they
outside of Israel?
Outside of Israel, right. So, and the reason everybody wants to say that, yes, we do it, is so that when we come back to Israel, they shouldn't be like something new. So it's also here. If I'm going to have my child grow up eating non-kosher food and breaking Shabbat and
you're driving with your little kid and screaming, I'm hungry. You can pull through a McDonald's and get him something to eat.
Right, so if you're going to do that, so then he's going to he'll be trained to do that. So you want to train him that when he's, we cannot, Jews don't do this. Jews don't do that. And when he's a bar mitzvah, so we make a big thing of that, or she's a bat mitzvah, it's natural, but it's also, now it's on you. Oh, tremendous, okay. But that's really why we do that. But in reality, let's face it, biblically, they would not be commanded. So, but here, by the way, biblically, they are commanded. That's, again, we are commanded to stop them from doing something.
For the kohain.
Kohain.
So, for the child, before bar mitzvah, they're not obligated to any of the mitzvahs or the negative or the
mitzvah.
Positive.
Yep.
Right. So, you shouldn't, right, we don't, but could you treat one like a Shabbos goy? Or could you actually tell them?
Again, the answer is yes, biblically.
Right.
Again, I'm going to really distinguish biblically, but of course we never would, because what happens is they're going to, you're training them to do it. So the minute the child knows what he should or should not be doing, that's the end of it. In other words, if your kid is 6 months old and likes to fill their arms, so okay, you have a very short period, we can make him go boom, okay, and he'll get the light turned off. But once the child knows, absolutely not. You cannot do it.
I actually saw it one time. I was on a business trip, and so I was stuck over a weekend. So I went to a place where I could stay for Shabbos. It was a Shabbos house. And so that little child, I guess I was there for lunch, and I don't know, maybe a couple years old, had turned the radio, the phonograph, whatever it was, and the music's coming out. So I think finally the father said was old enough to speak and so forth. If I said, wow, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have any loud music on Shabbos? No.
Even that is question. That's you don't do that.
John was very young.
You don't do that. You get a
tell him to turn it off.
You get a guy. No, that's the point. We're not allowed to put, once they can understand what's going on, they're not allowed to break it. When they don't know, that's something else. So then you can get away with certain things.
I'm sure this is what the case was.
Yeah, so, again, if the child can speak, the child knows. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying intellectually knows there's a God.
Not in Shabbos,
so what? Tough luck. Again, welcome to the world of... unplug it next time, I can tell you. You have to, or a child-proof your house. I can tell you. There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. But what I'm saying is what we have to do is, again, I'm distinguishing between biblical and rabbinic. We are in the world of rabbinics. We live as rabbinic Jews. I hate to use such terms, but we live as rabbinic Jews. We don't live as Torahitic Jews. Torahitic Jews, I can get if you follow again Ramban from this week's Torah portion, then I could, if I just follow the strict interpretation of the biblical words, well, I can run a business on Shabbat. I can do a lot. I can't take money. But I can still do a lot of other things. And you can have commerce. I mean, the Ramban goes at length to say what you could do if not for the fences that the rabbis made. So again, we are adherents of the rabbinic tradition. That's why the Pharisees, we are the descendants of the Pharisees. Okay, because what's Pharisee? Perushim. They separated themselves from these society. That was one thing. But they're also Perushim, where they were explaining what was being done. So you have two sorts of Pharisees there.
I think you said before, this is probably why we're still in existence today.
It is why we're still in existence. Absolutely. Everybody agrees to that. Even the Reform movement will agree to that. That's the rabbinics that kept us around. But unlike how people understand rabbinics, I want to make this quite clear. The rabbis are not inventing halacha as they go along. This is from our tradition. We have the 13 ways of understanding. We have to apply the Torah to the problems that we have today. Now, if I have a problem, I don't know what the thing is, so I have to look back to the Torah. What does the Torah say about fire, electricity? How do I define what electricity is? Let's understand what it is, then I can go back to the Torah and see what is the Torah's law regarding that. Okay? Comes to a parv meat. What's parv meat? Parv meat is what your vegetarian garbage that they put out there. Morning Star sausage.
It's even further than that now with this some kind of cloning and
no, forget that for a second. Forget that. You have Morning Star hamburger sausage, and it's all dairy.
It's made from
it's vegetarian
taste
right.
And texture.
Right. So they have that. So now the question becomes: should I have a cheeseburger?
Why not? It's not meat. That's not meat, though.
No, but it's not meat, but maradayan.
So
what it looks like. And what am I training myself to?
You shouldn't sit in your sukkah and do it, maybe, unless nobody else is around.
No. What I'm saying is I'm training myself. I wanted to eat what the treif was, so I'm putting together. Should I, philosophically, what I'm saying is philosophically, I'm not going to argue rabbinically, I'm not going to argue, now I'm arguing hashkafically. Should I be doing that sort of thing?
All right,
should I put myself into that situation where I miss it so much, I never taste it, so I want to try it?
A lot of people, it's not shrimp and
it's not shrimp, right?
Crab stuff,
right? All those things. You have to ask yourself again. They're all kosher, but you have to ask yourself: should I be eating it?
Faking.
Right. My wife once made some of that stuff. I don't know what she made.
Bacon?
No. It was some sort of meat with cheese. It was fake meat.
Cheese, yeah.
It's fake meat.
Oh, it's fake meat.
And whatever she did, she put some cheese on it. Yeah. And she served it. And I looked at her. I said, "I'm not eating that."
I like the way it looked.
I'm not eating that. She said, "But why?" I said, why would I want to have meat with milk? What am I crazy? I don't even want it theoretically. Leave me alone. I rejected this.
I had to try it one time. Make a sausage pizza. The crumble things, and I had your same. Frankly, I had your same reaction.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So hashkafa. So you have three things. You have hashkafa that goes with that. What am I trying to create? What's my philosophy? What's my real philosophy? What is the halacha? What's the halacha hold? So if the rabbis say no, I'm stuck. I don't go any further than that. But if I needed to break the rabbinics for some reason, a person's not healthy, blah, blah, blah. So now I can say, okay, what is the biblical? What am I really stopping here? That's something else. But again, you need to have guidance with that. But again, the rabbinics aren't just the rabbis came up with it on their own.
Yeah, there was so many people think,
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not rabbinic Judaism like that. I follow the rabbis because there's a tradition that they're following, not because some rabbi decided that you have to send your head at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and therefore I'm going to do it. That's foolishness. But if there's a real tradition, that's what's going on. And that's why here when it says, by the way, again, it doesn't say daber. Going back to this, it doesn't say daber. It doesn't say Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe.
Yeah.
It doesn't even say Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe. It doesn't even say lemor. Is emor, say to. Okay? Say to them. It's a whole statement here. He's speaking nicely to Moshe. It's not a command to Moshe. It's the command, but it's not a harsh command.
Emor is a command form, right?
Yeah, emor is command. And then emor el kohanim, say to the kohanim, who are the children of Aaron. And you should say to them again, not tell them, not speak to them, say to them nicely. You have to say nicely. They'll listen to you.
Yeah.
The nefesh le'yitamabamav, to the soul, to a person. You shouldn't defile you. You shouldn't become tameh in amongst the people.
It's funny. The article translates Marta as tell them. Why? That's just their thing.
I'm not sure.
They just felt
and
they
say
had to
it
make it.
again. I'm say it. He probably is English.
But it is say though. It's the same
Right,
word.
say
Amar.
it to them. And then it says, B'nai Aaron, so you would have thought, Rashi says, Yechol Chalalim, maybe it's even talking about a Chalal, which is a profaned son. In other words, if Kohen married a girl he shouldn't have married, and therefore his child is a Chalal, no longer a Kohen. So you would have thought that? The answer is no. Tamaloma HaKohanim. Has to be a kohen, a real kohen.
Yeah.
And then, even if it's a kohen, if he's, let's say he's a balmum, let's say he has a blemish, that would disqualify him from service. Maybe it also allows him to go to the to become tameh, to become unclean to the dead person. The answer is no. He is not allowed to. He has to follow the laws of the kahuna, even though the priesthood, even though he cannot perform, he still is a son of the kohanim, of the priests. And then it says B'nai Aaron. Finally, it says Velop Benot Aaron, but it does not apply to the girls. So it's only the male kohanim who cannot go into the death. The female can. Okay, and then it says Lo Yitamal Bamav, he shouldn't become impure in his nation. But Osha Mepetoch Amav Yasa made a mitzvah. This is come to exclude the dead person who has nobody else to bury him. In other words, normally a person dies, the kohen shouldn't be involved. On the other hand, let's say that the person is dead on the road, and there's nobody to take care of that dead person, a Jewish person, I'm talking about Jewish, okay, nobody to take care of him. So then the kohen, even though normally he would be exempted from burial, from burying somebody, here nobody else is going to do it, so he has to do it. Okay, so that's what's going on. So again, normally he's not allowed to do this, but in a mitzvah where nobody else is taking care of the deceased, he has to do it.
So you were talking about the whole thing you gave with the children and so forth. So what? Emor el hakohanim b'nei Aaron. How do we know what age these children are? Are they adult children or are they small children? Is there any indication?
Which children are we talking about?
Is it the sons of the kohanim?
Sons of any age. Any age. Well, again, we're warned against the minors. That was from the first Emor kohanim. Say to the kohanim.
Yeah.
So if they're Marta, and you should say to them, and then that's to be careful for the elders. The bar mitzvah are commanded to safeguard the below bar mitzvah. That again, the below bar mitzvah, they would be. There's something there. I mean, I don't want to dismiss that out of hand.
All the sons of the kohanim.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right. But again, they have to be kohanim.
Yeah.
Not chalalim, not somebody who's profaned, who's no longer a kohen. Right. But if he's a balmum, again, somebody that has a blemish, they are that you can't become impure. You can't go to the funeral. But a girl could.
Are they still a kohen at that point?
A balmum, yes. A balmum is somebody who just cannot do the service, but it doesn't take him out of the. He has a child. The child's a kohen.
Okay.
The chalal has a child. The child is not a kohen. It's not in. Okay. It's out. Okay. Now the Torah says again, normal kohanim. So it says ki'im l'she'ero krovei lav, with the exception of the relatives that are close to him. And who are these? By the way, the she'ero Rashi says it means his wife, the one who was near him, so remains with him. So that's his wife. And then you have the imo, to his mom, ula aviv, to his father, livno, libito, achiv, to his son, his daughter, and his brother. So that's your 7 relatives. Okay?
Oh, it's the ones that you can bury.
Right. So again, your wife, mom, dad, brother, son, daughter, brother, and we're going to come to the sister in 2 seconds. But okay, that's your 7 relatives.
So this means actually going into the cemetery and participating.
Yeah, you're commanded to. Commanded to. Yeah. You can't say, I'm a kohen, I can't do this. No, for your mom, your parents, your children, and your siblings. We're going to be very careful in siblings here. It says, that is the virgin daughter, in other words, the unmarried daughter, that is close to him. So, she doesn't have a husband, la yitama. That one you have to bury. If she has a husband, then you can't get involved anymore.
Then she's his responsibility.
Right, and you no longer can do it.
Okay.
So, it says, right, so if she's, even if she's engaged, even if she's engaged and she would die before the marriage, you have to do it.
What about his wife? Doesn't mention that.
Well, whose wife?
The kohan's wife.
The kohan's wife. It's not
L'she'ero.
L'she'ero. The word l'she'ero means to his wife.
The one who's closest to him.
Right. That means his wife. Again, the wife is only if she's proper for him. In other words, if the kohen married a girl who was not permitted to him, so then he would not be able to go to her funeral.
Wait a minute, he's no longer a kohen at that
He
point.
is
Yeah.
A kohen never loses. A kohen is a kohen is a kohen, and a kohen never loses. It's only his children can lose. His children can lose, but he can never lose. That's why when he marries a convert, he marries a person who had relations with a non-Jew, or he marries a person who's a divorcee.
Yeah.
Those are the three, right?
So would he be called to Aliyah as a kohen?
Wait. So when he marries one of those three girls, that woman is forbidden to him. Also, chalutza, but she the product of she had a levirate divorce. Okay, that's a chalutza. So if she would have received chalitza, in other words, she was married to Shimon. Shimon died, his brother without children. So Shimon's brother Levi didn't want to marry the girl, and he gives her chalitza that takes off that whole thing. So that's a chalutza, that's like a divorcee, and therefore the rabbi said she can't marry her. So in those four cases, you could not, the kohen is not supposed to marry her. If he does, the marriage is a marriage, and we want him to be divorced from her. We want to get rid of her, but if he doesn't, and he has kids, those kids are, like I said, profaned and all kohanim.
Right.
Furthermore, if he married her and stayed with her and she died, he couldn't go to the funeral. He would not be allowed to go to the funeral. And so you could say, wait a second, the guy is sinning all his life. Okay, so it's true he's sinning in this situation, but it doesn't mean you can sin. Just because I sin in one thing doesn't mean I can keep sinning and continue it on. Okay, so the Torah is saying you can't go to her funeral. Now, how do we try to get the guy to divorce her? By not giving him an aliyah, by not letting him go on to duchen. He has the rights to do all these things.
He have the right to be called as a kohen.
No, you couldn't call him as Yisrael.
Okay, that's the question.
You can't. Okay. So I remember
you're not going to call him as a kohen because you want to put him in that position.
Correct. So there was, if you call him, you have to call him as a kohen.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so there was a situation when I was in. I'll leave the place alone. When I was in a place, one of my first pulpits, so they called up a kohen for shishi because he married a gioret, okay, which is not allowed. So I said, whoa, because they even announced kohen.
Wow.
So I said, whoa.
After the Levi.
No, he was number 6. He was number 6. Number 6. Said
ha-kohen.
I think they called him kohen too,
wow.
or I knew he was a kohen. So I said, "Whoa, what's going on here?" I was the rabbi. And I said, "What happened? I don't get this." So they said he's married a gioret. I said, "You can't call a kohen for 6." And I stopped it, and I said, "Okay, Tzaddik, you stand to the side." Don't go down. Stand to the side. And I said, I'll give you acharon. There you go. And
beautiful.
Right. So that was, and I said to the kehillah, I'm sorry, you don't want to give an aliyah. That's up to you. But you can't take somebody and denigrate them like that. And he was all,
Yamod Poloni Ben Poloni Hakohen Shlishi.
Whatever they did, there's something like Shishi.
Wow.
Right. And so that's why I said, you want to give him Hagbah, you can give him Hagbah. You want to give him a Maftir, you give him Maftir. You want to give him Acharon, give him Acharon. I don't care.
Then he's legitimately called
right.
as Hakohen.
So, Right. So then what happened was, as I moved to different places, again you had the same sort of situation, and so now you really get into a situation of kiruv, because if you wouldn't give the guy an aliyah in any of these places, so then they're going to walk away. Now, in one place they had no place to go. I was the only shul in town. Yeah. In the other place, they did have places to go. They could have gone to conservative. They could have gone to reform, and so there is when you have to make a decision. What is better, to call him as a kohain because he wants an aliyah, or not? So then the decision is you call him as a kohain, and that also applied here. And we had people who weren't supposed to be called kohain or go up to an aliyah, go up to duchen, and we never stopped them because we're a kiruv, and if you would stop them, they won't come back. So in the other places they were always accepted. So now to suddenly say because you married a goy or a convert, or whatever you're married, that you can't have aliyah, so they won't show up. So now what have you done? You haven't helped them to grow in the Yiddishkeit. And so that's what you really, but at the same time, if you can get them to realize their error and to divorce the person, even better. But that's really where that whole thing came from, that if I have a person who is sinning, so we put a decree against them. Now, again, the reason we could do that was because it was one shul town, and where are they going to run? So because of that social pressure, they would give in. Okay. Wow. But that's what it was. Like I said, today, that social pressure doesn't really exist. Yeah. Okay. So now it continues. And it says, Lo yitama ba'al ba'amav le'chalo, that a person a husband should not contaminate himself amongst the people to cause him to be a chalal, to want to desecrate him. And again, that is talking about the woman who is puzzled to him, who is not fit for him. So that's where it touches two things. So again, you have the 7 relatives: father, mother, children, a sister, unmarried, sister and brother. Okay, but you cannot defile yourself to a woman who you shouldn't have married in the first place. Then it says further, that they shouldn't make themselves bald. And the corners of their beard they should not cut. And in their flesh they shouldn't carve themselves out. How do they say it? They shouldn't cut, and shouldn't make a gash. Okay, so he says, what's Rashi say here? That he says, look, out mate. People used to take pull the hair out over the person who died. Yeah. So Rashi says, wait a second. Every Jew is not allowed to do this. Why are you picking on the kohanim for this? Remember, it's emor al kohanim. So here we have everybody who's obligated, so why are you picking on them? But because it says up to the Jews, between your eyes, you would have thought that only, which would mean here, by the way, where you put your tefillin. Okay, you hear? Between your eyes would be right here where you put your tefillin. Okay, so they said maybe it doesn't mean the whole head. So Tama Lomar, so Tams to teach you, Barosham and the heads. And so the rabbi, so the regular Jew will learn from the kohanim in a Gezer Sheva. It says Ne'emar kan karacha, Ne'emar nahalan v'yishol karacha. It says in both places dealing with the kohen balding, and then also with Yisrael balding. So it says Ma'kan kol harosh. So just as over here it says you can't pull out your hair from any part of your head, also over there you can't put anything over your whole head. Fine. So that's, you can't do that. Also it says the corners of your beard you shouldn't shave. And so here's where we come to the other thing of how can you shave? You can't use a razor. So what do? You can use, we rule a scissor action. But the point, and that's from Yigalechu, that's also why we call a priest a galach. What? You call a priest a galach. Oh. That's the Hebrew word. Why? Because priests were clean shaven. So that's why they called it galach.
And what was it? The monks? I don't know. Any of them used to shave a circle in the middle of their hair, had the round fringe.
Oh yeah.
Hair? Yeah. See what's in the movies.
That I don't know.
It says, reading it in English, Rashi and Sifra, removed with the scissors or a scissors-like shaver. So I read the story about Reb Moshe. It might have been in a Hannah Teller book that people came to him. And when the electric shaver was invented, they asked him.
Right.
And he went through the whole thing. He made an appointment with the representative of the manufacturer, explained to him. He had brought engineers in. They took it apart and they showed him how it worked before he would make his decision.
Right. And his decision was, I forget.
Yeah, it's a scissors. It's a series of scissors that move very rapidly. It doesn't scrape the hair off. It cuts it off.
Right. So you're allowed. Well, you could also use an ointment. They used to use an ointment. Depilatory.
Yeah.
Which would take it out.
Apparently, if Rashi must have had those a long time ago.
What?
I mean, here it says in the English here. It says parenthetical. I don't know what it gets Rashi and Sifra on that comment. They shall not shave.
Where is it? There's a clarification. Right, the prohibition against removing the beard applies only to shaving. Sharp blade, however, facially it may be removed with scissors or a shaver or depilatory. Right. So that it does. It's very interesting. They used to have it all the time.
What about? I read somewhere about. Are you allowed to pull your hair out with wax? You put the hot wax down, let it dry, and.
That would be depilatory, no?
That is considered depilatory.
Depilatory.
So I guess, but the modern depilatory I'm thinking of that you used to see advertised long ago on television when they came out with Nair that women would use on their legs, I think.
Right.
And it just kind of would dissolve it and then you just rub it off or something. But somehow disconnect the hair from below the skin.
That I don't know.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But so you're saying a hot wax that hardens on your face and that you would pull, that would be considered depilatory type of thing.
I think you're crazy to do it. But
I can't imagine what it would feel like.
I wouldn't want to do that. It's not worth it. Totally not worth it to me, but whatever. Yeah, again, what you do want to do is the shaver was a problem. The question is, why was the shaver a problem? Now that you have to. I'm going to default to what I always default to, because God said so.
Yeah.
God said you can't do this. But clearly, what was going on, if I want to be an apicurus about this, is you had the priests and everybody else who were shaving.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they'd be shaving. It could be considered, again, since we're talking about death, and he said you can't make yourself bald. So, Mistama, out of grief, you're also shaving your face. You want to take everything off because your beard is really your grandeur.
Yeah.
For the man.
Yeah.
Okay. Not today. We don't know this anymore, but.
Well, this has come back since the 70s, though.
Yeah, but I'm still
amongst the general population.
Yeah, but still, people for the most part are clean shaven. I mean,
for the most part,
it's the Omer. So you see me with a beard. Watch my videos and you can see that with beard, without beard, long hair, short hair, whatever the case is going to be. But it really, in the beard was a sign of distinction, and it wasn't trimmed. It wasn't, people had long beards.
Sort of coming back in that what you're saying right now, the hipsters.
Yeah.
They have really long beards. They put beads and stuff in it, but they let it go all the way out.
Correct. Yeah. The hipsters or whatever they want to call themselves. We used to call them hippies. Yeah. So okay, but whatever it's interesting.
The hippies just let
to
it
hipster.
Grow long. The hipster, that's a much more.
And that's right now. Yeah. That's why they had a whole thing on. They had a whole thing on hipster or chassid. That was what they did on TV. I remember one time. I forget which guy it was, but he was making fun of that. But that's what it is. You look like a Hasidic Jew. But think about that. Originally, it was a sign of distinction. Yeah. And you have the nice long beard and the gray or whatever whatever it's going to be. Yeah. But that was something. That was your whole hitter.
The different cultures, I don't know. Native Americans, some cultures couldn't grow beards. It's genetic. I don't know what it was.
Okay.
But the Babylonians were part of that Middle Eastern Levant culture. But their whole style, one of the styles was like, if you see the statues, they would like take oils and stuff and like stiffen the beards out to be flat and broad.
Yeah. Okay.
And like wavy.
Yeah.
The point is to make it as long and as wide as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, again, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was a sign of probably virility instead of sterility. There was something on there. Yeah. So now if I'm depressed about somebody died, I'm already cutting my skin. I'm cutting my so it makes sense. I'm going to cut my beard too. I think that it's all signs of mourning ultimately, but because again, people in those days had beards. You had some who didn't, but even the Greeks, they had their beards. They weren't shaving off the beards.
Oh, it was the Romans, I think, that started getting that clean shaven look. Am I correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who started it, but whoever it did made Gillette rich.
Yeah, the Greeks had beards, and I think the Romans.
They're all good.
The Romans, I think, for the most part, like to be clean shaven.
Okay.
That's
my
where
impression.
The term barbarian comes from. The Roman, the Latin term, it means barber, like a barber. It's hair. Anybody who wasn't Roman was a barbarian because they all had beards.
Fantastic. Okay, there you go. Okay,
great
good, very nice. Okay.
No, I never made that connection.
There you go.
Cool.
Okay, so now it says furthermore, it says Kedoshim you lelohayim. You should be holy. They should be holy to their God. And they should not profane the name of their God. Because the fire of Hashem, which is the breads of the food of their God, is they bring Vahaya Kodesh, and they are holy. Okay, so you have that's interesting. Oh, okay, there you go. So Rashi says, "Kedoshim Yehu al korcham." By force, they have to be holy. Yagdishum beitim b'chach. You have to, in other words, the beitin has to make sure that they are following the rules. So this is the most. We have the police action going on here. Okay, we think we're individuals with free will, which we are, and I guess we have the free will to be whipped. But it's if we marry the wrong girl, since we're your representative, you told the courts to make sure that we're doing our job. So that's why it also would put all these decrees against the kohain. Whatever he's going to do, we put decrees, and we make it so that he can't do it because you represent. And you're bringing the fire offerings of Hashem, which is, again, the food of their God. So you have to be careful. Okay. Then it says, Isha zona v'chalala lo yikachu. Now we identify the girls that can't marry. A woman who is a zona. A zona is normally translated, what do they choose? They say a harlot. Okay. Prostitute, a harlot. What is a zona? There's a couple of different definitions in the Gemara, but there's six definitions. It goes, it's in the Gemara Yevamot. It goes all the way from having relations with just not for marriage purposes, okay, with a Jew, to the other extreme of only having relations with somebody that marriage cannot be made. That's your non-Jew. Okay. In other words, if I would have, so what's the difference? If a woman would have premarital sex, so that would, with a Jew, according to the last definition, that would not defile her to the kohain. It would make her cheaper, because a non-virgin you pay half price for, as compared to the virgin, but it wouldn't defile her, it wouldn't defile the kids. Very nice. And but if she would do it with somebody, an adulterous relationship, which is basically impossible for her, right? Because he can marry as many wives as he wants, so he can't be an adult. So it's only if she would be married to somebody and they have relations with her, but then she'd be divorced. No, it could be almana. This is almana. Okay, widow, the regular kohen can marry. So if she was married and she had relations with somebody who she was already not her husband, so that would make her an adulteress, and then her husband died, and then the kohen wants to marry, can't do it because that would be something forbidden to, right? Okay, so all these things that she couldn't, that would be another case of zona. Okay. Then you have halala. Again, a woman who's profaned. This is the only. Well, there's two ways you can do it. One is she has relations with somebody who is a halal. That makes her a halala. Or she is a product of the kohain who married the wrong girl, and therefore she became profaned himself. She became profaned by birth, and therefore the kohain cannot marry her. Lo yikachu, it says you can't take her. V'isha gerusha meisha, and a woman divorced from her husband. Lo yikachu, they cannot take her to be married. Why? Because he is holy to his God. And so Rashi says, I covered everything there. Okay, fine. So you got everything there. Kidashto, and his holiness, and you will sanctify him, because the bread of your God he brings. Kadosh Yalach, they will be holy to you. He should remain holy to you. Fine. I shouldn't say. I said it wrong. Okay. Ki kadosh, because holy. Ani Hashem mekadishchem. Because I am Hashem that makes you holy. Okay, who sanctifies you. Okay, and so Rashi says again, v'kidashto, make him holy al krocho, by force. She'im lo ratzal legaresh, that if he doesn't want to divorce the woman that he married, that he should not have married, halkehu, whip him. Yes, yiruhu ad shigaresh, and make it so he's going to divorce her. Okay, and why? And by the way, the only way I can give a divorce is willingly. Here's where you get the famous thing from Rambam, that here the guy is being whipped. And he says, okay, I'll divorce her. So why are you divorcing her? To stop the whipping, clearly, right? And the answer is no, because you're whipping the devil out of him, basically. So he's really wants to divorce. He really doesn't want to break the law. So that's why when he says, I'll divorce her, we accept that as a valid thing. And it sounds crazy to us, but that's, again, we're going on the assumption that Jews really want to do what's correct. So, and only the Yetzer Hara is stopping him from doing what's correct. So, if you stop the Yetzer Hara in his tracks, then he'll be good. Okay. And this is Kadosh Yelach. Naho Bo Kedusha. You should conduct everything with him as a matter of holiness. How do you do this? Liftoch Rishon Bechol Davar. That you give him first dibs in everything. Levarech Rishon Besuda. And when there's a kohen at the meal, you let him lead the benching. Here's where you got the concept of the kohen getting the first aliyah, the kohen getting leading the benching. This is where it is, because Kadosh Yalach. He will be holy to you. In other words, you have to treat him properly. Okay? Now, when it comes to the kohen leading the benching or anything else, leading the benching, if there is a Talmud Chacham in the room, then the Talmud Chacham, the wise rabbi, is going to be given the right to lead the benching.
The congregant who happens to be a kohen, in other words.
Right. Now, or the stranger. That is why when somebody who's a non-kohen goes up, he says, with the permission of the kohanim. I've always wondered what would happen. I never did it because I never had the audacity. But I was always curious if I would say in the middle of when they would say Rabota Birshu Kohanim, I would say no. What would they do? What would they do? Obviously, what the rabbi would default. He would have no choice to default, but to let me do it. And of course, I'd be killed. But it would be. But that's how. When you're saying with permission of, if somebody says no, it's no. Leave me alone.
Wouldn't you have to? That's interesting. Wouldn't you have to ask him in that situation? Ask him for. It's understood though.
Ask who? Ask kohen.
I mean, if the kohen came up to the highly thought of Rav and said, "I'm leading the benching."
Oh, I get, but what I'm saying is, if you have to have chutzpah. Right, you have to have chutzpah.
Start.
Right. He says, Rabotai will bench, gentlemen, we want to bench, which means I'm going to lead. And everybody, okay, then The guy's waiting.
Like he'd have to go.
The guy's waiting. What is? I want the shop liver. So he says, "B'shut." Now, what do we normally do? B'shut, Rabbanam, Maranam, Rabbatai, Mass first, blah blah blah. All these things. We don't say kohanim.
Right.
It's not in the text.
Yeah.
But let's say he says b'shut kohanim, and somebody there it says no. No. Well, the rabbi would have, or who's ever leading, would have to say, Kol Kavod. It would be chutzpah to the nth degree.
The formulation. Yeah, it would be chutzpah. But because of the formulation,
right.
You have to stop him exactly at that point.
Right. You think you say no? No, I don't guess.
I wonder if that's ever been done.
No. I don't think it's ever been done. Even when I'm in a room, and normally certainly this town, I'm normally given the, if I'm at a Shabbat brach or something, normally people default to me anyway. But it's, there have been times that I wasn't defaulted to. I didn't say anything.
Okay, yeah.
I was happy.
Okay, so, it seems like that the host, the person who's running that dinner, has a reason.
Right.
And it should
so
be
really,
understood.
what should happen because of this pasuk? Really, what should happen is the host should go to the kohain and say, "I know you normally would get it, but we have an honored guest here.
Yeah.
I just want you to know we love you, but we want this to happen."
And
that would be the best thing to do.
And that's why they ask permission, obviously.
Right. Yeah. What do you want to ask?
I'm saying whether or not it happened, it may have happened, just not twice.
I hear wouldn't happen twice. Like I said, it's an interesting, but we have this concept that we are supposed to honor the kohanim, and again, it's a vestige of what it was. But I know when I was in shul here, so I went to the early minyan, and the rabbi, actually, I was there, my son was there, another kohen was there, 3 kohanim in the room, and they had 3 yort sites. It was a Monday or Thursday, whatever it was. Yeah. So the rabbi Duffy came to me and said, "Could you please leave the room?"
And your son?
Yeah, of course. But I was a leader.
He wasn't bar mitzvah yet.
No, he was. He was. All 3 of us were good. So he said, but he told the other, to get the kids out, it's no big deal. But he came to me. He came to me and he said, "Could you please leave? Because we have yort sites and we have 3 people and you're going to take 2 aliyahs."
Wow.
So I didn't think twice. I said, "Because I'm tired." And so I told my son, I told the other kohen, "Okay, let's go." We all walked out, and before they started.
I think I was there.
It could have been. And in those days, we were all there or somewhere else. So, but it was very funny because we all walked out. 3 people walked out, all kohanim. And then they could count. Once they called the person and he said the bracha, we could walk back in. That's no big deal, because it's past the.
You can't be called again.
You can't be called at that point. So, but it was interesting that again you had to come to me to say, not only can I take your place, but can you please leave? Because while you're here, we can't insult you by that. Right. Okay, we'll have to stop.